So the question came up, what is pre-development? You hear this term coming up. You hear development is taking a raw piece of land, building an improvement, whether that's apartment building, racetrack, parking lot, is adding onto the asset, the current land. Now, pre-development is what the name implies, prior to doing all this type of stuff. And the pre-development can actually be an industry in itself. So pre-development is when you're taking that raw piece of land, but entitling it in such a way to get it ready for development. So getting it shovel ready. One things we've done in the past is take a property, or I want to say the raw piece of land that was titled more farmland, and we turned it into multifamily. Or another time some people will go from single family to a different zoning structure. And a lot of times that can be very time intensive, politically intensive. You may have to get a lot of approvals to do that. It requires different value add. Somebody may need to have the political connections, the capital, with time to do it. This is why I'm saying it could be like an industry for some people make a living off of doing this, where they just get things ready and they hand it off to the people who turn and burn the projects. So that's why it's good to people to realize in this industry what they're better at. Are they better at turning and burn, getting the architects, engineers, construction management, and the contractors and seeing it, the visual stuff complete, or are they better off in the beginning, which is more the permitting, getting all those things taken care of and getting it sold to, brokered off to the right developers at that point. The joke there is those are the people who start something but never finish it, right? But that's just a little comedic joke in there. It's not too serious about that. There are a lot of firms out there who specialize in this, and I've kind of seen a lot of these drawings. And these are always the sucker deals out there. Like you see the specs that come up, and it's always from some @Gmail architect, or like some unprofessional architect out there from a foreign country. And they're just some just slapped together drawings that don't really mean much. But that's, it's not the point, right? The point is to get it sold to some developer or somebody who thinks that they can develop it. Their whole job is to get it all titled up. And the thing with development deals, the big risk is if you can build and if you can project manage, because you're not the one building, you're getting people hired to do that for you. This is really just a project management job. If you can project manage yourself from idea to plan and spec creation and getting it out to bid and using construction management or doing the construction management yourself and managing the pay estimates, the changeovers, getting it through. And if you can do that, then you're good. And you can usually make a pretty decent return on investments, 2 to 3 times your money in a short period of time. Let's call it a few years. Great way to make money. But it's all predicated on any one thing stopping in this timeline. And one of the biggest things that kind of holds up projects is this permitting of the land part, or permitting of the project. So if you're able to let somebody else pre-develop it for you, which we've also done in the past, so we don't have to deal with that, then you take one of 2 big issues out of the equation, taking that variable out. And then this is all in project management, you're trying to de-risk the project. You're trying to take out these common headaches, the common barriers out of the way. So pre-development, outsource that. You just buy somebody's pre-development or rightfully titled land. You can not worry about. Just like on the construction side, a lot of times we'll do a guarantee maximum price contract with the contractor. So once we get the plans and specs to them, they sign on the dotted line, we can relax at that point and really not have to worry about them blowing our budget up or change ordering us to death at that point. We kind of lock in. That's why it's called guarantee maximum price contract. But that leaves still the permitting, going back and forth with city. I spent some time working for the city and I've seen that firsthand, how that can go. But those are minor delays at that point. I think the biggest delays are the ones that put a project on standstill for months, possibly years. And all that's just with the land, because you can't do anything. It's not worth it to go at risk and start doing stuff to start working the land at that point. But that's why this pre-development concept or outsourcing it out makes sense. And it might make sense for some people to take that part on. We may not want to get involved in any construction or architect or plan speccing, and you just want to just buy a bunch of land, just turn it, flip it to the way most people want it, sell it off. If you already buy and sell land, consider that a great way to value add. You always want to try to value add into the system. And that's why the world rewards people to add value with wealth. To me, that's how you create wealth, is by adding value, not buying things and hoping that it goes up and selling it for higher. It does nothing for the world. So, what we'll do here in the future is we'll always have like little pre-development properties. Luckily, land doesn't cost very much. We can get in for about $1 million or $2 million and then just have it on the back burner and have that process going along in that time. And the nice thing about land is it's a hard asset. There's nothing more hard than a raw piece of land. And when you are able to finally flip it from farmland to multifamily, your multiplier goes up and the land instantly is more. And you can create a lot of value for yourself in that process, which is why a lot of times the principals will buy the land quietly by ourselves, pre-develop it ourselves, then come out and syndicate for the larger raise when we do need maybe $10 million, $20 million to go build the larger project. But that's the kind of the tutorial on the whole pre-development idea, a little discussion on some of the risks in projects. But overall, development, if you can mitigate the risk, it's a kind of a surefire way to make a lot of money. Just a matter of like how much time it takes. And some people will think that it's actually less risk than going into a stabilized asset that has value add in itself, because in development deals, there's so much more margin. So even if the project gets delayed by a great degree, you can still probably come out ahead much more than you would have in that standardized vanilla value add stabilized asset. So just some food for thought. I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. Typically, more sophisticated investors tend on the side of development deals because they don't care about cash flow. They rather care about their money growing for them. And they like the velocity of capital because development projects are typically a lot quicker than wait for the majority of tenants to move out, take 2 to 3 years to do that type of a project. So they like that velocity of capital a lot. But we'll throw this into the syndication eCourse along with the other development, heavy construction, the heavy value add section.